So, let's talk about a really powerful idea. This idea that so much of our personal stress, it isn't actually personal at all. It's about learning to see the invisible scripts, the stories that we're all living inside. And well, just seeing them can be a huge first step toward freeing ourselves.
You know that moment? It all starts right there. That little flicker of self-awareness where you catch a thought and just pause. You question where it even came from. That moment, that simple question, is basically the doorway to a much, much deeper way of understanding ourselves and the world. To figure out that question, we kind of have to climb what you could call a ladder of awareness. And the very first rung on that ladder is a concept a lot of us have probably heard of before. It's all about thinking about your own thinking.
Yep, this is metacognition. It's that ability to get a little bit of distance from the whirlwind that's going on in your own head. Instead of just being swept away by your thoughts, you get to observe them. It's a totally fundamental skill for just regulating yourself.
You're using metacognition every time you notice that internal critic pop up, or when you realize, oh wow, my anxiety is really clouding my judgment here. It's that little voice inside that says, hey, hold on, maybe this thought isn't the absolute truth. It's a vital first step for sure, but it's also got its limits.
And here's the catch, right? Metacognition is focused completely inward. It's great for helping you manage your internal state, but it doesn't ask a really crucial next question. Where did those thoughts even come from in the first place?
Okay, so let's take that next step up the ladder. We're going to shift our focus from how we're thinking to why we're thinking the things we do.
Now this is a total game changer of a question. It moves the whole investigation from inside your own head to the environment all around you. It reframes the problem not as a personal flaw, but as a kind of cultural inheritance. I mean, really think about it for a second. That guilt you feel for just resting on a Sunday, the constant pressure to equate being busy with being valuable, that sting of feeling like you haven't hit some career goal by a certain age. Did you just invent these pressures, or did you kind of absorb them from the world around you? And here's the big aha moment. These stressful, nagging thoughts, they are not evidence that you're broken. So often, they're just artifacts of the system you happen to be living in. And realizing that, well, it depersonalizes the struggle in a really powerful way.
So if these are environmental artifacts, what is this environment even made of? What is this invisible architecture that's shaping how we think? Well, the answer is stories.
We live inside these huge, collective narratives about what it means to be successful, what failure means, and what a quote-unquote good life is supposed to look like. These stories are so big, so pervasive, that most of the time they just feel like reality itself.
This brings us to the very top of the ladder, this core concept, meta-narrative cognition. It's the next level up from just thinking about your thoughts. It's that moment of realization where you go, oh, I'm not just thinking my own thoughts here. I'm actually inside a story.
I love this quote because it puts it perfectly. Just like learning a language gave us a way to grab onto raw experience, this narrative awareness, it gives us a handle on the story itself. It makes the invisible structure of our lives something we can finally see and maybe even interact with.
Okay, so this is all fascinating, but what's the practical benefit here? What do you actually get from having this new handle on things? Well, it gives us an incredibly powerful tool to tell the difference between two very, very different kinds of hardship.
So on one side, you have what we could call primary suffering. This is the unavoidable pain of just being alive, right? Effort, loss, getting sick, uncertainty, that's the initial impact. But on the other side, that's the secondary suffering. This is the optional layer of shame and personal failure and self-blame that the story adds on top of the pain. It's the voice that says your pain means you're failing.
And this, right here, is the heart of the whole thing. It's not just about, say, losing a job. It's the story that says this makes you a failure. It's not just about feeling lonely. It's the story that says this means you're unlovable. The story is what turns ordinary pain into a personal indictment.
But once you can actually see the story, you can separate the two. The loss is still real, the effort is still hard, of course, but it stops being evidence that you are somehow fundamentally flawed. The pain gets decoupled from your identity.
Now look, this awareness isn't a magic wand. It doesn't make everything perfect, but it gives us something absolutely essential: room to breathe. It opens up the possibility of finding a more livable story for ourselves.
And let's be super clear about this. This isn't about gaining some godlike control to rewrite all of society's rules. It's about gaining personal leverage. It gives you the space to adjust your own relationship to the story, to find a way to live within it that is just less harmful to you.
So let's just quickly recap the journey we took. We climbed up this ladder from the simple fact that I think to I can think about my thinking. Then we realized our thinking is shaped by our conditions, and we name those conditions as shared stories. And finally, by seeing the story, we found some room, some freedom.
And this insight, it has really profound implications. It suggests that maybe the most compassionate and effective way to help ourselves and to help each other is to stop focusing so much on fixing individual flaws and start getting curious about the narratives we're all trying to navigate.
And that leaves us with one final and I think really powerful question. Once we can see the stories that are shaping our world, we are in the right to evaluate them. We can actually look at a narrative that we're living inside and ask, is this story helping us thrive, or is it just causing a lot of unnecessary pain? And that is a question worth asking.